Welcome, everyone, to another episode of season 6 of the Runners Roundtable. This is our Beyond Pace season, and it has been a season full of so many stories and so many incredible memories. And I am just grateful that I get to have these conversations. And as always, just grateful that people say yes to being on the podcast and to coming and to talking to me about their running story and their favorite running memories. And this episode is Melissa Ullrich's episode. And Melissa, I'm so excited to have you here because I kind of geeked out when you're like, I'm a CPA. And I was like, ooh, I've never seen that combination because I just don't like it's such a unique kind of combination. And I want to dive into the CPA-ness and also just like I want to know if you are like a data nerd because in my brain I'm like, ooh, CPA and numbers. Does this mean she's also like really into data and kind of looking at patterns over time and maybe even breaking down what the data means? And so I want to learn more about that, but I also just want to even know more about the 50 state challenges and Ironman and all of that and just how you protect your identity as an athlete
Mhm.
as you move through different movement modalities. So we'll kind of get into all of that. But first, I just want to say thank you for being here and for saying yes to sharing your story with me and with everyone that listens. So now I want to pass it on to you. And Melissa, have you introduce yourself to us? And as you introduce yourself to us, tell us about your running story and where you're at with running right now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephanie, for having us. It's a great podcast. So I was very excited to find out about you and join. Um, my name is Melissa. I have been running for as long as I can honestly remember. I'll never forget my sixth grade, coach who I did not come from an athletic family. We were not, no one in my family, my siblings were in any sort of sports. My parents were not into sports. We were just not that kind of family. We just, there were no after dinner walks or anything like that. We just weren't that type of family. So in sixth grade, when I didn't go out for the track team, a coach from there pulled me aside in PE and said, Melissa, why weren't you there? And that started off my absolute love of running. Took a short break when I was in college because I was 20 something and stupid. Um, just having way too much college and working and all that stuff. But yeah, I had my little girl a lot of years ago. I'm in my mid 50s. So had her and just had to do something to get my mental clarity back and just put her in the jogging stroller. And that was the end of it. Been running ever since. Got into my first race in a very roundabout way. Um, Probably a whole other episode on this one. I was mowing my grass and my daughter was inside. She was all of 2 years old. She was inside with her dad and mowing the grass. And I mowed over a wire hanger that had been, I'm a corner lot in my neighborhood. So we get a lot of random stuff thrown into the yard. Mowed over a wire hanger with a lawnmower. The wire hanger won and lots of shrapnel was shredded and got shot into my leg. So, without the very long story, I was in a boot. I had to have surgery. And the orthopedic surgeon said, well, your days of running are over. The shrapnel went into your calf. It tore up way too much calf muscle. You're done running. You won't run again. You can walk, you can try to do some things, but your running days are over. And I remember very specifically thinking in my head, I'll clean up my language.
It's
You're
okay.
wrong. Yeah, screw you is the nicest way I can say it. But I remember thinking, how dare you try to tell me that, I can no longer run because yes, I had this weird random, mishap, but I just kind of said, okay, I'm going to join a local running group and signed up for my first race was a 10-mile race and I trained for it. And many, many, many years ago. So that's how I got to where I am now in my running journey of doing the 50 states challenge. You just kind of keep evolving as a runner. And once you finish one thing, you're like, okay, what's next? And you just find out what's next and go with it.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting us off hot and with this story. Yes, I'm just like still in shock of what you had this accident and even just kind of understanding the timeline of you hadn't started participating in races until after that accident. So even though you had been running
Yes.
since you were very young, you hadn't actually participated in a race. And I guess I want to ask, did you ever go back to that doctor and be like, "Hey, I've ran and I've
I
done all
did.
these things." How was
I
that
did.
experience?
So he was, I live in an area where we are a very out, I'm a suburb north of Houston. On a Saturday morning, if you are driving to go get donuts or coffee, you are in the vast minority. You will see bikers and cyclists and runners and walkers, and we live in a very, very active community. Miles and miles of trails and pathways and sidewalks. It's hard to not find a place to run. You can literally step out your front door and start running. Um, running so many miles and races, of course, I have to pop into a doctor every once in a while for an injury. So my very first injury after I started racing and doing a 10 mile, and then I did a half marathon. And then, of course, I remember exactly where I was when I told my friend, I will never do a marathon. You people are crazy. That was a lot of marathons ago. Um, so yeah, my first injury, I won't even lie, I quite enjoyed going back into him and saying, "Remember me?" And remember, I mean, he literally sent me home from the surgery with a little medical cup filled with liquid and filled with all the metal shrapnel he pulled out of my calf. And I was like, "You remember me and the lawn mowing incident?" And by the way, I'm injured now because I'm training for my, whatever race it was at that time. So he just kind of, smiled and said, "Well, I'm glad you got back out to it." And I just thought, yeah, thank you for being the impetus. Um, I had run a lot. I would again take my daughter in the jogging stroller. We'd go and do 3, 4 mile runs, but I did it mainly for fitness and for my mental. When you're a mom, you need some mental release. Um, and it was truly that accident and him telling me, your days are over, that I was like, well, watch me. So
I mean, I that is a story because I always just like, anytime you can give a middle finger to someone and be like, that's what you get for underestimating me. It's
yep.
always really great. Like that is just such a great feeling. So you have this incident,
Mhm.
and what was the time from when the accident happened to when the 10 miler was?
It was probably, I'm trying to remember, and I relate everything to my daughter and her number of years. So she
Yeah.
was, like I said, roughly 2 years old when this happened. I want to say it was roughly within the year.
Okay.
I was in a boot for a few weeks because, I went straight to the ER when everything happened. And I'll never forget, the ER doctor is calling in student doctors, residents to come in and look because they're like, "Look, you can finally see a calf muscle from inside." And I'm laying on the table like, "Could somebody please address me and stuff?" I'm not like a project.
Hmm.
It was probably about a year or a year and a half before I signed up for the 10 miler and decided, well, I don't, I had had a high school coach. I didn't race in college. Um, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. This was before AI and all these
Hmm.
online running plans. So again, very active community. I found the local, USA Fit kind of running group and joined them.
That's an incredible story. And now I'm curious as to at what point did run coaching come into play with
Yeah.
your journey of you've always been a runner, but then there's this moment where someone tells you you're not going to run anymore to you being like, no, I am going to run. And then going, I mean, I just love the story of running is something you do for your mental health to eventually running is something that you do to help others
Yeah.
see that they can be runners themselves.
Yeah, it was truly, it started off with a couple of friends saying, "Oh, Melissa, you run so much and you run so well. Can you help me? Like, if I want to do this, can you help me get there?" And I was like, "Of course I can." Again, CPA, give me an Excel spreadsheet any day of the week and I'm a happy camper. So I was like, "Well, let me just draw you up an Excel spreadsheet real fast." And we started with the race date. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew if she wants to race this on this day, we need to back it up a couple of months or weeks and get her there. And that kicked it off, and that went really well. So I did it for another friend, and that went really well. So, you know, as I've got my CPA career and I became a single mom. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, of course I'm going to keep my CPA job. That's how I pay the bills. But what if? I was like, well, what if I just looked into this briefly? And it's hard to take that jump, but it just kind of kept whispering in the back, like, go get a license, just go see what you could do with this. And then the RRCA emails started coming in, and the rest is history.
When we get those whispers, we have to listen. And I
Yep.
think I like to say that the universe whispers, and if we don't listen, eventually it's going to start to scream. And
Right.
hopefully it's screaming in a good way, right?
Right.
I think that also tends to happen with injuries, right? It's
Yep.
we're going to feel
Yes.
like a little nagging here and there. And then if we ignore it, it's eventually going to be so painful that we have to stop running.
Yep.
But I think the same happens to those nudges that you get of why not try? Like, why not see what can happen? Because the worst that can happen is that you do it and you
Yep.
decide this isn't for me,
Yeah.
and that's totally okay. So now the question I have is just how do you find the time to be a CPA, to be a runner, to be a mother, and then to also be a coach to other people?
I'm tired all the time. I'm tired all the time. I also, I love TV. I love all these series. I love all these great shows, but I can tell you I have never watched a single episode of White Lotus. I've never watched I just and this is not at all to say it's bad. I love TV and good Lord, if I could sit down and watch them, that would be great. Um, I just don't, I pick and choose what's important for me that day. And some days it's my CPA work, and some days it's my running. This week was a really hellacious week at the beginning of the week. So Monday and Tuesday, I had to unfortunately skip both of my runs because I had some CPA work that I had to get done. And so you just got to prioritize what's coming at you and what can wait until later on the day. I always tell people that sink full of dirty dishes, it's going to be there when I get back from my run. But my opportunity to run is either right now or it's not going to happen. So it's you have to. My listen, the friends that are allowed inside my home, because most of the time it looks like a train wreck has gone through. I've got dogs, I've got kids, I've got workout equipment. There's probably a basket of laundry sitting on my dining room table 9 days out of 10. It's just life. At the end of the day, it's not going to matter how clean my house was, when my friends come over. It just you do the best we can. We all do the best we can. And is my training perfect? No. Is my coaching for my athletes perfect? No, but they're going to get their plans before I get mine for sure. Um, you just I'm always looking at what's coming at me tomorrow. That's what I'm going to work on today, and then we'll deal with the other stuff the next day. You got to give yourself some grace in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, you're speaking to my heart because I think what you're also talking about is the idea of just giving yourself grace to navigate through
Hmm.
life with flexibility and to understand like I'm laughing because you said the dishes, because that is just one of my pet peeves, is like a sink full of plates and dishes, like,
Hmm.
and there have been days where I'm like, I cannot leave until I clean up the kitchen. Or my husband's like, he's like, I said I'll do it. And I'm like, yes, but I want it done now.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it takes, all right, Ziggy, see, my dog agrees with me. And he's like, yes, mommy, the dishes. I understand. Okay, dude.
Yep.
Um, but the reality is is that there's going to be a dirty sink later in the day,
Hmm.
and there's going to be a dirty sink tomorrow, and there's going to be a dirty sink the day after, and it's just going to kind of keep on happening. So what you're saying is that prioritizing, which I think is really hard, prioritizing kind of what's going to feel good in the long term versus what's going to feel good in the moment. Because
Right.
yes, cleaning those dishes is going to feel really good right now, but the thing that I know that's going to feel good the rest of the day and through tomorrow is going to be getting that run done, or it is going to be
Yep.
taking that time to take care of myself. So I think that's such an important reminder for all of us. And as always, just especially when I have someone who's like a coach, I'm like,
Hmm.
listen, if your coach is saying this, and if a coach is telling you that this is how they live and this is how they do things, then you can do it as well. You can
Right.
give yourself permission to let the mess be the mess so that you can do the running that's going to help you feel stronger,
Exactly.
capable, whatever it is. So again, you're speaking to my heart because it's just that the time is our time is always just so limited,
Right.
always.
Yep.
So thank you for that. Okay, I want
Of
to bring
course.
us to the topic of this
Yeah.
season, and it is our favorite memory. Do you have a memory to share with us?
I do, and it's really ironic that how it's played out with what you just said regarding flexibility. First of all, I want to say this has got to be one of the most difficult questions I come up with because there are, when I was thinking about this question, I'm like, well, there's the time that I ran my daughter's first half marathon and she and I ran it together. That is, as a mom, that is an incredible day. There is, this race and that race and these different moments from running and so many to pick from. But I have to say, and I don't, my favorite, the memory that I'm going to talk about today is when I got my first Boston qualifying time, when I ran my first BQ. And even though that is the reason why it was a great day, how I got there is to me what this is about. It was back in 2018. I was registered and signed up and training for Marine Corps Marathon 2018. As you know, Marine Corps is a fall race. We live in the South. Training for a fall marathon. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in the Northeast or if you don't live in the South, you don't understand baking until you have tried to run long distance in a southern state in the summer. If you get up and go in the wee hours of the morning, the humidity is 5,000%, and you open the door and it just hits you. You're like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to be running in saran wrap. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. If you wait until the day when it burns off, the humidity burns off, then you're running in full on sun, scorching. You can literally feel your shoulders burning as you're stretching to warm up.
Mm-hmm.
Training for a fall marathon when you live in the South is it's a different beast. So I'm training for Marine Corps. I have done all my long runs. I'm feeling good about it. My coach and I are talking about strategy and plans and et cetera. And I'm roughly 2 weeks out from the marathon. And again, I'm a single mom, so I have to plan my marathons carefully to be sure my daughter is with her father. Um, and he surprises me with the, guess what? My work schedule has changed and I can't take her on that weekend. She's yours that weekend. And I'm thinking, no, 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 no. I've got plane tickets. I've got a hotel reservation. I've trained for this marathon. I got to go. And long story short, no, I didn't. My daughter was um she wasn't young. She was a teenager, but not old enough. And I did not feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
leaving her in a hotel room for quite literally hours because, a big marathon like Marine Corps, you got to get there early, hours early, plus you've got, a couple hours to run a marathon. And then I just was not comfortable leaving her in a hotel room by herself, nor would I take her out to the marathon with me. So I was like, well, okay, there goes my marathon. I've trained, I'm ready, and in a blip, it's gone. And I was really upset. I gave myself a day or two to kind of pity party and just, why is life so hard, et cetera. And then my coach was like, WTF, find something else. She's like, listen, pivot, find another marathon. You are trained, you are ready. Uh, Rebook something, anything, I don't care. Go run a marathon somewhere. Let's work and find you something. So I pivoted really fast, found a marathon. I couldn't believe it actually worked with my weekends. It fell in a weekend where she'd be with her dad. It was either a week before or a week after Marine Corps, so it was relatively in the same time frame. Booked a flight. It was one of those turn and burn races. I fly in, I pick up my packet, go to bed, wake up, run, and fly right back out. Not ideal. I don't recommend it. But when you're on a 50 state challenge and you're trying to get one in every state, you got to do what you got to do. So I found and I meant to look up the official name of it. It's like the Nation Children's Hospital Marathon in Columbus, Ohio. So I fly in. Again, we are flying by the seat of our pants on this one. We're just showing up to just run. I no longer care about my time. I'm still pissed that I'm not running the one that I want to run. I'm just here to get my 26.2 miles done. Get the expo, go to the expo, get my packet. Back then in 2018, they still did, printed programs. I'm
Yeah.
in the hotel room the night before looking through just kind of, oh, where does the race start? Where am I going tomorrow morning? And I find out it's a children's hospital. And so at every mile marker, there's going to be one of their patients. Yep, yep. All bets are off. I'm trying to not cry right now. All
Me
bets are
too.
off. I am like, so I start the marathon. It's freezing cold. It's like 35 degrees. We're all huddled around the generator that's powering the light because we're just absolutely freezing. So it's starting to be a rough day. I hit mile one and I see the first patient. And I'm like, screw my time, screw running the tangents. I will high five every single child out there because there's just, so I decide I'm just going to have some fun. I'm just going to have some fun because I am blessed that my child is healthy. I am blessed that these children are healthy enough to be out here. We're about to start ugly crying. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, yeah.
It's just, it is one of those races where you think, I am blessed to be upright on my own 2 feet and to have my people, my family are also healthy. So I'm running, high-fiving every single patient, just thanking God with every single high five. Thank you, Lord, for letting me be here. Then I hit the angel mile.
Oh
And the
God.
angel mile is, yep, yep. As a mom, I remember thinking, I cannot look at their faces because I will lose it and I will start crying ugly. I will start hyperventilating. It's just, I am an asthmatic runner as well. So I was like, head down, speaking some things into the universe while I'm running through there and again, just beyond thankful that I found this race and that this race found me. So I'm running along and it is just a party. I'm having a great day. I could not give two craps about my time. And I'm running along and I hit mile, you hit at every marathon, you hit that mile where you're like, oh, this is no longer fun. I
Hmm.
hurt, my legs are tired, my toes hurt, my eyes hurt, my hand, everything is just, I'm sick of gels. You are just over it. You're just done with the
Yep.
race.
Yep.
So I'm like, let me just look down and see. And I look at my watch and you get marathon brain where you can no longer calculate anything. So I look at my watch again and I think, well, wait, hold on. I've only got a few more miles left, and my time is this. And I'm calculating, and I look again, and I'm like, no, I saw my time right. Wait, hold on. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. This was not my intention for this race whatsoever, but I've only got X many number of miles left, and I'm at this time, and holy shit, I'm going to get my BQ. And I remember thinking, I've got to be miscalculating something. I'm not thinking correctly. And there's a woman running next to me, and we start chit-chatting. And I ask her, how many miles do we have left? Am I just not understanding the mileage right now? And she's like, no, we've got 3 miles left. And I think I said out loud, I think I'm going to get it. I think I'm finally going to get it. And I crossed the finish line and I got my first BQ. And I was so stunned, thinking, for this race, I did not set out to get that. This was just to check the box, get this state done, get my training, get the reward. Our training is the work, the marathon is the reward for it. So I just, you know, was stunned that in the least expected moment, when I wasn't going for it, when I wasn't trying for it, when I truly said, I'm going to show with every step of this marathon how thankful I am to the running gods that I'm even here. And lo and behold, it's when a goal that I had been trying for many years finally came to fruition in just its least expected moment. Um, so it is a special memory for me because that is my first BQ, but it's also special because it was just so unexpected. And that race was just something that will always, I mean, you can see from, it was a day.
I have a series of little questions related to this. So this was marathon number what? Do
I
you
should have
remember?
looked that up. I do not know. I know, so I had always, I'd run some marathons not trying to be Q, and I had run some marathons trying to be Q. This was my sixth attempt, or
Okay.
Marine Corps was to be my sixth attempt at trying to get a BQ. So
Okay.
it was probably around the 12th or 13th marathon, I think.
Yeah, that was okay. So that's question one, because I'm like, okay, wait, I want to understand kind of a little bit more of the context of this
Yeah.
race, right? So you've got it's your sixth attempt. It is state number what on the 50 states? Do you
I
remember?
also don't know that one. Again, I should be a numbers person given that I'm a CPA, but I think because I deal with numbers all day long when it comes to my running, I try not to. It was probably state at that time number 5.
Okay. So state number five, sixth attempt. And now the final question I have is just, have you gone back to run Marine Corps?
I have, yeah. I
Okay.
deferred 2018 and ran it in 2019.
Okay. And the reason why I ask, and that's why the minute you said they're at every mile, and then you said Angel Mile, I was like, that's it. I'm done.
Yep,
I'm checked out because that's with Marine Corps, the Blue Mile is
yep,
that, right? Like the Blue Mile. And I remember running that mile and I slowed down because I
yep,
wanted to read like the names and I tried to calculate the ages and like see their faces and whatnot.
yep,
And I remember thinking that was such a beautiful part of the course, but also a really challenging part of the course to realize like you are seeing these pictures of people who like they're
yeah,
alive and but they're
yep.
not. So to think of I'm just trying to think of your emotional state during this race, right? Because it's like on the one hand, you're just like, let's just get it done. Kind of, it's almost like the let's not let the training go to waste. So let's still run
That's
that and let's
exactly what
try
it
to,
was.
yeah, and
Yep,
let's try to find a race in a state that I haven't gone to. And then so it's like I don't want to say this is what it was, but I'm trying to put myself in your position of I feel like I would have almost dismissed the race as just like, oh, here's this thing to get done and then finding out what the race is actually about
yep,
is it just feels so serendipitous
yep,
of
exactly.
you thought you were going to write off this experience but it's not because you being there meant so much without you even realizing it to the kids that were on that course, to the
Yep,
families that have been supported by this church, by this hospital, right?
yep.
Like I'm just like, so to me, it's like, yes, it's a race and yes, it's a BQ, but it also just
So much
feels
more than
like
that.
so much more. And
Yep.
now I'm curious, just when you finished the race, how did you feel? Like, do you remember how you felt when you finished the race?
I felt it was very odd. Like I said, every mile had a patient, and I will never. They were all just so beautiful. The one that really almost got me to just I can no longer move forward. I just want to get on the ground and cry for the blessing of my healthy child and my hope for these patients. There was a mile marker, I want to say it was 15 or 16, and the patient was holding up a foam hand to high five. And as I'm zipping from side to side. I don't care what side of the road you're on. I'm gonna high five each mile marker, each patient at each mile marker. And as I run towards the foam hand, I realize the patient, it is not their arm and their hand because they don't have one. The foam hand being held up is strapped to their shoulder. And I remember high-fiving the foam hand and thinking, "Oh Lord, if I stop, I'm going to be just a ball on the floor crying. So just keep moving forward." I just I'm not sure I've ever run a race where I've been this. It just didn't matter what my time was. It mattered that I was blessed enough to be able to run. And, it's one of those moments there, but for the grace of God, go I.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I crossed the finish line and thought, this was something else. This was way beyond running. This was just something else. I was a little numb just from, something that I chased so hard that I really had begun to accept maybe wasn't going to happen because I lined up 5 previous times. It didn't happen. I really, when the fifth one I ran and I just knew by mile 7, it wasn't going to work. I'd really started to think, that voice starts, that negative Nancy starts popping up in your head. I'd really started thinking, and it's okay. Not everyone has to go to Boston. It is okay. Not everyone, it doesn't make me any less of a runner. I really started accepting maybe this just wasn't going to happen. And that's okay. I had to accept it. So I think I was so stunned that it did happen. And it did happen in a race that I wasn't on the radar, had never, thought about going to. Everyone thinks about Ohio and it's, all the other much bigger marathons. This is a much smaller one. So I think it was just this stunned kind of sort of mentality of that was so unexpected. The race environment was so unexpected. I don't think up to that moment I'd ever had that much fun in a race. And it was because I just stepped up and said, I'm letting go, and what happens, happens. And I just want to have fun. And it was so much more important to me to high five every single patient that I could. Nothing else really mattered when I lined up. When I realized what was going to be at the race, it just no longer mattered.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm like taking notes. I always
Yeah,
take notes. I always take notes, y'all. And so I want to point out like two things, right? Because you had said in a blip, like that was something you said about like the marathon was gone. And it's such an interesting parallel to in a blip, you have this accident and you think running is gone, and yet it's not.
yeah,
In a blip, you thought this marathon Marine Corps experience was going to be gone, and then it wasn't. You just had to approach it differently. And on top of that, I just like this story. I'm just like, bleh. I just don't even, I'm feeling so many emotions right now because what I, one of the things that I'm coming back to is just, had you been in Marine Corps, probably would have gotten your time, right? However, I don't think you would have gotten it with the level of presence
right.
that you did at that race. Because listen, for a lot of us, when we're racing, we are not stopping to give high fives. We are like
Exactly.
focused on forward, 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 forward. And here, that wasn't it. So I think it's also such an incredible reminder that yes, you can chase your goals, and you can also chase that goal with gratitude, right?
Right.
Not so much the, and we get caught up in this, and I say it for myself of like sometimes it's like chasing the goals almost kind of almost for like selfish reasons, right? Like
Yeah.
I want this because I want this for myself. I want to prove to myself that I can do it and all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
not bad, but it's to see that your story is such an incredible testament to the fact that the goal was there and it was always there in the back of your mind. And it was just proof of your training and everything you've done and trusting the process and trusting the fitness that you've gained. But that also you could be completely present
Right.
and grateful and just in communication with running on such a bigger level. And
Right.
so the question I have for you now is just thinking of this memory, how did it and how has it shaped who you are as a runner today?
So the reason why this one just, I honestly say changed me so much was because I realized I had put so much pressure on myself. I am very much a type A person, perfectionism, unrelenting perfectionism, you just never falling short of the mark. Just so I was such a type A personality and a type A runner that I realized when I just let go of it, when I just showed up to have fun, no pressure. Like you said, this was a make use of the training I've put in, check the box, get this state. When I just let go of the pressure I put on myself, not only did I have one of the most meaningful, best party times during a marathon, I actually finally hit my goal. And so it changed me by realizing just relax. And any distance, whether it's a 5K, a marathon, an ultra, an Ironman, any distance race, something's going to go wrong. Like there's almost no chance of nothing going wrong because that is what running is. You've got to roll with the punches. So when I just accepted that, let whatever comes at you come at you and just pivot and deal with it, it just changed my running because I just, you know, of all of your podcasters, I'm sorry, of all of your listeners to your podcast, what's something like, I hope there's some Olympians listening. Let's say it's 0.5% of your listeners are Olympic athletes. Fantastic for them. The vast majority of us are not going to the Olympics. I mean, we're just not. It is not that serious. If you have a bad run or a bad race, learn from it. It doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean that was a waste of time. Every run and every race you do, you can learn something from it. This Columbus Marathon really made me realize just relax. Just enjoy the process, enjoy the moment, stay in the moment. Don't worry about mile 26 when you're at mile 6. Just We're all so lucky to be able to do this to begin with. Don't ruin the moment because you wanted to run, an 18-minute 5K and you ran a 19-minute. Don't just accept what it is. Yes, look back and see what you could have done differently. If your goal is to do this or that, look back and see what you can learn from it. But every race we complete, every run we complete is a win. End of story, period. Whether you hit your goal or not, whether you were supposed to run 6, but you only did 5 because you were tired or you ran out of time, everything we do moving towards our ultimate goal is a win. So take it at that. I've lost hearing.
Yep, that was me. That was me.
Okay.
Sorry. So my dog was barking. And so
All good, all good.
my dog was barking. So I put myself on mute. But what I was asking was just how does this experience play into your coaching and into this belief of yours that everyone can be an athlete? Because I'm really full of emotions right now listening to your story and to not only it's this dance of being present, but also
Mhm.
letting go. So how does this experience, how has it played into maybe your coaching philosophy?
So when I coach my athletes, and I do consider, again, I don't care if you're a sub 3 hour marathoner or I have a very, very good friend who runs 5Ks and they normally take her in the 50-minute time range. She is, in my eyes, as much of an athlete, if not more, than that sub 3 hour marathoner because she is out there every day working. How it affects my coaching is I have to remind my athletes, this is fun. when you start looking at a workout as, and trust me, we all kind of get that way because we're tired.
Yeah.
But when you aren't sleeping because you're too stressed out about your race, and when you're not eating because you're too stressed out about your race, and when you don't leave your house for 2 months because you don't want to attend any social function because this is supposed to be fun, y'all. And
Mhm.
the minute you stop having fun is the minute that I feel personally you are much more susceptible to injury. You're much more susceptible to, you go and have a workout and maybe you don't hit your paces. And I always ask my athletes, okay, what was your day like the day before? Did you not sleep enough? What's your personal life like, going on, when you have a lot of stuff going on in your personal life, of course that's going to affect your training. So Columbus made me realize we can get both as coaches and as athletes so wrapped up in following our plan. I mean, as I'm here, I've literally got my workout written down over there. I have to write it out by day. So I know today I've got to pivot and switch those around. So we can get so wrapped up in achieve, 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 achieve. I think that's when, as an athlete, you're going to start to experience a lot more, like I said, injuries, negativities, burnout, all those things that do nothing for your racing. So I remind my athletes, like, this is fun. And if you have to pivot and you can't hit your 400s that day, that's okay. We pivot and we make it up somewhere else. And most likely, you're going to be better for it. So that's kind of I mean, again, it's that race changed so much in my life, but it definitely made me understand that as a coach and as an athlete, you just got to keep having fun with it. And the minute you stop having fun is probably when I'm going to advise you as a coach, let's take a down week. Let's just reset, go do training, go ride a bike, go swim, go take a Zumba class, something that's fun to get some cardio in. Let's take a break.
Yeah, because it's life, right? When we hold on to things rigidly,
Right.
something breaks, right? Like, or
Exactly.
there's cracks. Whereas if we are looser with it, if we are gentler with it,
Yeah.
then that's where growth happens, right? It's that recognition that the tighter or the harder you hold on to things, the harder it's going to be for you to let go or to
Right.
pivot when things don't go as planned. And I agree with you. And it's mostly I agree with you just because I think there's such a mental component to everything of like, if you're not good up here, it's going
Yep.
to start manifesting itself in the body and it's going to
Oh
show up
yeah.
in the body. And it's that. Whereas if you're having fun, you're just lighter, right? Like
Yeah.
your shoulders are back. Like you're just like, all right, you're free. It's a little, there's just more fluidity. So
Right.
I it's just for me, it's the mind body connection, but also how and you've been running for such a long time that you know just as well as I know that if we're not flexible with how we approach our running, it's going to be very challenging to continue running for the long term. Like
Oh yeah.
it's like it running has to change because we change, our life circumstances change. Like our
Yep.
stressors change, like everything changes, and running is something that has to change. And it makes me think of, I always tell my athletes, and I tell myself this as well, of like running is something we add to our lives, and if what it's
Mhm.
adding is stress, then we need to
Ex-
subtract it. Like it's just kind of like that.
exactly.
Like we don't have to get too complicated with it. So I appreciate all of that.
Yeah.
Now I've got a series of just rapid fire-ish questions, but it's okay if
Okay.
they're not rapid fire. The first question is, if you could go back in time to speak to a younger version of your runner self, what would you say?
Start earlier. I really wish I had been running and started doing races, when I didn't race in college. I didn't run for my college, but I really wish in my early 20s I had signed up for that 5K and that 10K and just to see what I could have done. I'm just curious when, you know, you're a mom, I'm a mom, and whether you're a dog mom or an aunt, or whether you're just a woman, I'll speak to women specifically, working and trying to juggle all the things. And even if you're not a mom, if you've got friends that you're supporting, we all take on so much. Um, in my 20s, it was a lot easier to fit in a 20-mile run on a weekend because I didn't have to come home and be mom afterwards. So yeah, I would tell my younger self, get started. This is a lot of fun and it's going to truly change who you are as a person. So get started a lot earlier.
Flipping that question around is what hopes do you have for your future runner self?
I'm going to say this without getting emotional. I really, really want to be that grandma running a race with her grandchild.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
me too.
when I ran with my daughter, it was her first half marathon, even though, she ran with me the whole way and we made that final turn to the finish line and she was like, bye, mom. And she took off and I tried so hard to keep up with her so it didn't happen. And she loved that.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
that was one incredible moment. And so to be able to do that with any future grandchildren that I have is gonna, I'm gonna be 80 running a marathon, God help me. I really, really want to be there with my grandchildren.
I want that too. And I think
Yeah.
it's just because of it's like just that legacy and the reminder again that running is so much greater than just the act of running, right? Because
Yeah.
it's yes, running with a grandchild, yes, you're running, right? Like you're doing that physical act, but it's also like here is this activity that has brought so much joy into your life. And then to
Yeah.
be able to introduce it to someone who brings so much joy into your life,
Exactly.
it's there's nothing that compares to that. It really is an incredible feeling.
Yeah.
Okay, this question's my favorite question, and it is how do you celebrate yourself as a runner?
Cake. I'm not gonna lie. I have just a ferocious sweet tooth. It's really, I mean, it's kind of a problem. My family knows when we get cake for whether it's Mother's Day, birthdays, whatever, they know that I get the corner pieces because that has the most icing. And they know, my daughter likes the cake. She doesn't like the icing. She just automatically scrapes her icing onto my plate and cake. Yeah, not even gonna lie. Yeah.
Yeah, as I'm thinking I've been thinking about it a lot the past few like past week or so of okay, we're entering summer training and I'm signed up to do the Chicago Marathon in October and
Oh, great.
I'm like, all right, I need to make sure that I'm actually being really intentional about celebrating myself after those long runs because like always, but I now I'm like I after this season I'm like I want to do something really special for those long runs because
Yeah.
as you said, running outside in the South is not a fun experience because you're either waking up early to try to avoid the sun, but you're never fully avoiding the humidity. So it's
Oh,
kind of
never.
like that. So I'm like, so I've been thinking about it a lot lately where I'm like, okay, how do I want to celebrate myself? How do I want to celebrate myself in a way that reminds me that being able to run long outside in the heat and humidity is something that is worth celebrating because we
Right.
do get caught up in the the idea that this is the running that I have to do and I just have to do it. And it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
not. And again, to the messaging that you've said, where it's like, how blessed are we to be able to be upright, to do these runs, to show up for the runs and be ready to mentally tackle them. So I love that for you it's cake and I'm going to try to think of something where I'm like every week I won't get tired of it just to kind of be like
Yeah.
one more
I
week
also,
down.
I mean, running in the summer is in the South is truly humbling. It will, you have to accept your pace will not be what it is in January. It just won't. And if you try to get there, it kind of enters into some dangerous levels of pushing yourself. So I also, yes, cake, of course, but I also on those long run days, I give myself permission to just sit. Again, the sink of dirty dishes will still be there when
Yeah.
I get up in an hour or two after a nap. The laundry is not going anywhere. As much as I wish the laundry fairy would pop up and go put that stuff away for me, it's not going to. But it's going to be there later. So it is, I just give myself permission. You just ran fill in the blank of hovering in my, and it's all relative.
Yeah.
I don't consider somebody who runs a 5K you're just as much of a runner as anybody who runs a marathon. So whatever that distance was tough for you. And I give myself permission to just relax a little bit and not have to tackle everything else outside of running that day.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is a trap we often fall into of, okay, I do my run and now I need to move on to the
Yep.
next thing and I need to
Now where's
continue.
my to-do list? Yep.
Absolutely. And I think giving yourself that time to just rest
And
and
your
know.
body needs it. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that might be part of it. I like now that you're saying, I'm like, oh, one of the things I look forward to on Saturdays is that it's one of my hair washing days. And
yep.
I'm like, oh, that's the day where I do like the hair mask and kind of
Yep.
chill. So now I need to make that more into like an intentional ritual of like, I don't know, but I love what you just said there.
Well, and I think we also, as coaches, have to set the example for our athletes because a lot of my athletes, I have to beg them to take a rest day. And
Yeah.
no, honey, a spin bike is not a rest day.
Yeah.
Rest, sit down, get off your legs. So I think we need to set the example that it's okay to take a rest day. It will only benefit your training.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. This question's the easiest question, and it's just where do we find you and how do we best connect with you?
So I am terrible about social media and I've got a collegiate, my daughter runs for her college, so my Instagram is all of her stuff because that's my love. But on Instagram, I'm Red Melissa 525. It's a long story about that name, but Red Melissa 525. And that's really where I post. That's pretty much the only thing I post on. I'm not on a ton of other things. I'm in my 50s. I don't really do all the other stuff. I'm sure I need to. So, yeah.
Okay. This question, it's our final question, and it is what are your final words for us?
Oh, that's a good one. Just we all love running and it's so much more than running. And I wish that everybody who thinks maybe, well, I did this, maybe I can try and bump it up a little bit. Maybe I'll sign up for that 5K this year. Maybe I'll sign up for, a half marathon. It, I promise you, you can do it. It's not, you know, that's a really good question. I wish I thought about this one. Um, Running is just so much. Don't be afraid to do it. Just don't be afraid. If you run a half and you're too scared to you don't think you can do a marathon, I promise you you can. I remember where I was when I said I would never run a marathon. You people are crazy, and I'm yeah, getting a lot under my belt now. So it's just keep running. I promise you it's all gonna work out. Just keep running.
Melissa, thank you for those final parting words and for just being you and sharing such an incredible story with us.
Thank you
And
for having me.
this is just awesome. So, Melissa,
It was.
thank you. And everyone, we'll see you next time. Bye.